little bit different format on the Low Post for this segment. We're going to talk with two authors, co-authors of the following opus, 100 Things Sixers Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. This is co-written by our own Eric Stark and Gordie Jones. So, guys, the Sixers right now are kind of trying to lose, but there was a long time in their history when they were trying to win, and there really is a rich history in this franchise, which you maybe you wouldn't know it now, right. But I mean, it was that way.
It's easy to forget.
Yeah,
it really is.
But not if you read this book, right?
Let's hope not.
Yeah,
Let's
there
hope
you
not.
go.
I hope the book's coming out at the right time. This is going to be a bad season coming up. We all know that. And if you're a Sixers fan, you know there could be good things coming down the road. You can go back and reminisce about the good players and the good teams they had with this book. I think it's a lot of fun.
One thing I would like to see is I'd like to see him go back to this uniform with the fill-up on it. I love that. I love that uniform. So some of the compelling people that you guys talk to obviously to put this thing together.
I always like the story behind the stories.
Yeah.
Daryl Dawkins was a great talker opening night, and you couldn't get him to stop. But he was great to get me warmed up. But then I went out, and there's Bobby Jones, and he's always great. Mm-hmm. He's sitting 2 seats down from Moses Malone. Moses Malone was my idol growing up. It was my role model. He didn't want to talk to me. He's done this before to me. And at halftime, they started banging these drums. Every time I went to ask my question, they were drumming. They were doing these drums. So he finally said, can't hear you. So luckily they stopped the drums, and I got my segment with Moses, talking about Iverson and about those teams. But
you've had trouble with Moses too over the years, haven't you?
He's not the most verbal guy, but that's you sort of know what you're getting into when you go in to talk with him.
Now, not only with the Sixers, it seems to me not only a good history in terms of wins and losses, but some of the most compelling figures in the history of basketball have played for that team. You talk about Wilt, you talk about Iverson, you talk about Charles Barkley, obviously, Julius Erving, of course. Yeah, I mean, who would you say are like the most important figures in Sixers history?
Well, those four for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, that's where the book kind of starts, with those guys.
Right.
Just talking, about those. Well, one of the most enjoyable things that I did was I went and I talked to guys about what it was like to defend some of the signature players in their history. And I really enjoyed doing that. Matt Harpring, about playing against Iverson, also playing with him. And Nate Thurmond, I talked to him about playing against Wilt Chamberlain, and that was really interesting because they were actually teammates at the very beginning with the old
Warriors.
San Francisco Warriors. And Bobby Jones about Julius, because they played against each other in the ABA, which kind of took us back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that led us down an interesting path, because the last time they would have played against each other was the last ABA championship series in 1976, where the Nets with Julius beat Bobby and the Denver Nuggets. And
in what was considered an upset.
Yes, it was. And so we talked
about... The Nuggets coached by?
Larry Brown.
You are correct. It all fits together. All fits together.
It actually went down an interesting path, because I asked him what the most unique thing about Julius was, and he actually went into this soliloquy about what a great teammate he was, and about how guys of his ability typically look down their noses at their other teammates, and how Julius was never like that. And Bobby is a very thoughtful guy.
He is, yeah. He absolutely is.
And his point was incredibly well taken. It was really one of the most moving things that I think anybody said in the course of doing this.
That's great.
To your point with that, I talked to Henry Bibby. He says very similar to Dr. J, saying that there'd be a huddle sometimes, and Dr. J would say, Maurice hasn't gotten the ball lately. Let's make sure Maurice gets a shot here. Or Bobby hasn't had a touch lately. Let's get Bobby a touch. And to see a superstar do that it says a lot.
So Dr. J comes off really good in this thing, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, there is mention of his travails. Let's not.
He's had some travails. Yeah.
Yes,
the dude has had some travails.
Yeah.
But I mean, the overwhelming feeling that I think a lot of his teammates have for him is a very positive one, that playing with him was a great experience.
And I think a lot of those travails did not come out until after his career was done. They may have been going on then, but we didn't know about that as the public, and some of his teammates didn't even know it.
How can people get the book, guys?
Amazon. And also it's going to be in bookstores everywhere November 1st.
100 Things Sixers Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die by Gordie Jones and Eric Stark. It makes for an excellent stocking stuffer.